Potter.
Hello.
Let me greet you in Russia. It's a very big pleasure to be here with you and to speak with you about incredible music, your own music. And Downbeat magazine, New Yorker, and other famous magazines many times called you the best saxophone player in the world. And the question is, does it inspire and support you, or such titles only exasperate and distract you from the music, or maybe you don't think about this at all?
I mean, I try not to think about it, but I am human, you know. I'd say that there's two sides to it. On the one hand, obviously, if you're an artist, you know, it's very, very nice thing to have people appreciate what you do.
So it supports.
Yeah, I mean, you know, from that perspective, yes, it's good. And you know, to know that people are listening, so your message is getting heard. You know, along with that comes a fair amount of pressure. You know, it's like, wow, okay, so you liked what I did yesterday. I don't know if you're gonna like this, but I'm gonna, you know, have to, you know, do my best. But the thing that I try and do, as I said, is just not pay attention, because really, I mean, for me, every day there are things I can imagine to do on the saxophone that I'm not quite able to do yet, or so I want to learn these things, and if I focus on that, if I focus on the music and and the good energy, you know,
you have
from
feedback from the audience.
Yeah, well, that definitely helps. That definitely helps. But if I just focus on that, then I don't think too much about those other things, because that can make your mind go in bad directions, you know.
Okay, thank you. You started to play on a big stage in the beginning of 90s with a great trumpet player, a fantastic trumpet player, Red Rodney, and mostly you played the standards. Many musicians play the standards all their life, and they really don't like to play their own music or try to compose something. At what moment you understood that author music for you is more important than standards, and is correct or not?
Yeah, well, I mean, I still enjoy, you know, sometimes playing standards, and you know, finding songs that I didn't write that maybe nobody plays that maybe I can play. But I think the main point of my musical direction, yeah, it involves composition, because a lot of the things that I'm writing, I find that the writing process is connected to the improvisation process, and the kind of things that I write are things to challenge me as an improviser too. So it goes hand in hand, and I think that you know, trying to create kind of a musical world that incorporates the composition and the improvisation, you know, for me that's the most interesting aspect, and a huge challenge always.
Okay. Some musicians which play contemporary jazz music, modern jazz music, but not bebop, I mean the music of nowadays, try to distance from the name jazz, and they usually say we play just improvising music. Right. So what is it for you? In this case, your music, is it jazz or it's something else?
Yeah, that's always a funny thing. The word jazz, you know, I mean, it has all kinds of weird connotations, good connotations, bad connotations, depending on who you ask. For me, I don't worry about it too much. It can be called jazz. That's fine. Everybody knows kind of what that means, so it's okay with me. But I wish there was a better word, and I wish I could think of a word, you know, some way that I could describe what I'm doing in it.
Contemporary improvising music, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that the music I am playing, it is connected to the tradition of Duke Ellington and Charlie Parker and, you know, Sonny Rollins and John Coltrane. I mean, this is how I hear it. That it's hopefully it's an extension and it's going somewhere else. But
there
it
are a
is,
lot
but
of
it is
ethnics.
related to that. Is that?
There are a lot of ethnics inside, and a lot of classical music inside.
Yeah, well, there's influences from all kinds of music, which you know, which Duke Ellington used and John Coltrane used. I mean, it's a, you know, so that I think that's always been a part of jazz, and that's also a way that jazz can grow. You know, I mean, a thing that I do like about jazz, again, whatever jazz is, and I don't even like the word, but but the good thing about it is that I don't know where it begins and where it ends. You know, it's like it can absorb all kinds of different influences. It can sound very, very different, and I think that's a good thing, because that way, you know, it's not something you see in a museum. It's still going on. It's still alive. You know.
When I listen to your records, I have the feeling that saxophonists like Paul Desmond, Lee Konitz, Warren Marsh, closer to you than legends of bebop and hard bop. So, what music has most strong influence to you? Is it cool jazz or bebop?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I would say that you know, there's so many saxophone players I love. You know, from Paul Gonsalves and Johnny Hodges to Charlie Parker and Cannonball Adderley and Hank Mobley and John Coltrane and Dexter Gordon and Gene Ammons and Ornette Coleman and Dewey Redman, and I mean, there's a long list. So there's a lot of things that I like. And as far as my own thinking, I mean, the one voice I find that I always come back to is Charlie Parker. You know, I mean, even if I'm not playing in a bebop kind of way, there's a part of me is always thinking, okay, what would Bird do? You know.
It was not easy to play with Red Rodney. He played with Parker a lot.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was such a great opportunity as a young musician to have a chance to be around somebody who was there, you know, and play these Charlie Parker melodies with the guy on the record. You know, it's unbelievable to me.
One more question is about nowadays situation. How do you think, what is, I speak only about musicians which live maybe in Europe, in Asia, or somewhere, Latin America. What for them is, for this moment, is more important? To move the fashion of New York jazz stage, New York jazz scene, or try to create and something more based on traditions, academic traditions, ethnic of the country where they live. For example, for Russians.
Right.
We need to repeat Chris Potter, or we need to try to do something with.
Yeah, I mean, this is related to what I was saying about, you know, how jazz music stays alive. That's a big way that it stays alive is for, you know, now it's such an international music, and people from all over the world can bring their culture to it and make it richer. I think that's the way to go. I mean, of course, you know, there's so much to study. I mean, there's so much just within the jazz tradition to study, and then of course, classical music, different folk musics, you know, different kinds of.
But at the same time, they have a kind of fashion. If you follow the New York ideas of New York musicians, you are in fashion, you are in mainstream. And for you, it's much more easy to open the doors in the clubs.
Yeah,
yeah. And if you try to play something really special,
different,
you say, "Oh man, we're not sure that it's jazz at all."
Right.
It's something
well,
strange.
I can see that. I mean, I think it's up to each individual musician. I mean, if somebody, you know, I mean, there's nothing wrong with just trying to swing like Philly Joe Jones, if that's what you want to do. I mean, that's fantastic. But if somebody does have an idea of maybe how to integrate different traditions and something different, you know, I think it's important not to be afraid to try it because you're not sure if it will be accepted. I think you have to, if you're serious about being an artist, that's exactly what you have to do is go, all right, well, this is how I hear it, so if nobody likes it, that's it.
Okay. From our subscribers.
Okay.
They asked me to ask you, musicians in your underground quartet and underground orchestra, for you is first of all is a friends or it's colleges, and what is more important for you? Is it personal relationships with musicians inside your band, or it's professionalism of musicians?
I mean, it all goes together, really. I mean, of course, the musicians that you work with. I mean, you end up spending a lot of time with them. You're on the plane, you're on the train, you're going. So of course they're going to be your friends and people that you want to be around. But of course, also they have to be able to do the job. And be able to play the music. So it's I would say that they're both. I mean, it's
both.
Yeah,
okay.
And I mean, the musicians that I work with, the musicians that I know. I mean, this is a huge resource for me because I hear what they're working on. And they might tell me about some things that they're listening to that I don't know about, and I'll check it out, and maybe I can do the same. This is how a lot of information gets passed along in the jazz scene. It really is it's like a small little town. Everybody knows each other. Everyone's kind of interested to know what everyone else is doing, and especially when you're on the road with musicians, you're saying, hey, did you hear this? There's this old Lee Morgan record I never heard. Did you ever check that? Oh man, no. So. It's very important.
It's very, very important because in fact, I'm fake journalist. In fact, I'm just producer, and I work with musicians. I have my own booking agency, and from time to time, with my college Olga Kharkova, have an opportunity to do this perfect, beautiful, incredible interview. Situation in jazz market and with young musicians. Every year the universities, Berkeley, Juilliard, even Moscow's Gnesin Academy and other places, they put inside the market a lot of really wonderful professional musicians. And in the same time, they can't find a work.
They
have incredible, crazy competition. And if they really win in this competition, they don't have something special. And very difficult to promote themselves, their music. So can you could you please give some advices to young musicians how to live inside this situation?
I remember when I first moved to New York, and it seemed very, very difficult then. I thought, how am I going to do this? I mean, how does anybody do it? How do you pay the rent? How do you do, just month after month? How do you keep the work going? And I still don't know. I mean, I've been doing it now for a while, and things are cool at the moment, but you never take it for granted.
I have some friends which really sleep in a train station. And they for example, they come to go to exams in Berkeley, for example. But this time they don't have money to rent, and they sleep at the train station in the morning, go to the toilet, make a bam, and then go to Berkeley.
Well, I mean, it seemed like it was hard back then. I think it might be even harder now. I don't know what to say. I mean, it's definitely a different scene, and I mean, there's something that I really don't enjoy, which is the whole social media thing. It's really not my favorite thing to do, but it's important. I mean, musicians more and more, they do have to promote what they're doing themselves if they want to have a chance to get any music heard. So unfortunately, it's something that young musicians have to spend some time on, even though it would be better for them to spend time practicing, you know, or thinking about the music, or you know, I think that's time better spent usually. But you know, none of us gets to choose when we were born and what situation it is. But you know, I just hope that there are situations for young musicians where they where the best of them at least can really make a living, and where everyone, you know, can do something in music. I mean, there was another thing too, like when I was 20, 21, I mean, I was playing tons of, you know, weddings and bar mitzvahs and, you know, things like that. And I hope that work, you know, still continues. I think that's...
Next question is really difficult, even difficult for me, but I try to... English.
Thanks for the warning. Okay, I'll try.
I need to say the truth, that your last two albums, that Sirens and Imaginary Cities, is, for my opinion, is really the best music which happened with jazz in the last years.
Wow.
In the Sirens album, you touch the legacy of High Greek ancient mythology.
Yeah.
And philosophy, legacy of great Homer. I have philosophy education.
Oh yeah, okay, all right, very good. Yeah.
And it's incredible and very important music. Stravinsky, Scriabin did something same in classical music,
Ancient
but
Greek,
it was really first who did it in jazz.
Yeah.
Why you decided to dedicate this album to Greek mythology, and are you interested by ancient philosophy or modern philosophy?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not any kind of expert, but I like to learn about all kinds of things. I mean, you know, different systems of thought, different religions, different, you know, just human thought, you know. As far as, you know, how I came to write the music for the Sirens, really it was pretty simple. It's just that I reread the Odyssey, and I thought, wow, you know, this is so evocative. The moods of this, it's so, you know, it's so rich that it was very easy. I wrote all this music really quickly because I just had a vision of like, oh yeah, the sea and the waves. Okay, how can I, you know, and how do I do that? And then, you know, Penelope staying at home, and all just these episodes, kind of.
This images is a really start for me. They start to alive. I really saw Calypso.
Yeah.
I really saw Penelope.
Right.
Wife of Odyssey.
Right. Yeah. Right.
I really, when I listen to this, I really see them. It's really fantastic.
Oh.
It's really fantastic.
Well, thanks.
And most incredible thing for me is that after the Sirens, you moved from the past to the future.
Yeah.
Imaginary City. So it's really one of the best albums I ever heard. And why you decided to start experiments with third string music? And what is it? Imaginary Cities. After Greek mythology, I need to ask, maybe is a city of Platon, because Platon wrote about the perfect ideal state, the wise philosopher.
It's kind of that idea. It's a kind of a utopia idea, you know. I mean, it's not very, I mean, the fact that it's music with just instruments and no words, it means that a lot of it is in the imagination of the listener, you know.
For your opinion, the city exists or not? Or
No, I don't know if it will, but the idea that I had in my head is like, okay, you know, how can cities be a better place for people to live in? Because, you know, we have all these structures and ways of living in a city that have grown for various reasons, and maybe there's a much better way that kind of values, you know, the human more, and maybe this is a direction to go in if we are smart.
I think it's a responsibility of art to show these images to people, to give them opportunity to move.
That something different is possible, because you don't always see it, you know.
How many music, how many tunes which you composed, you never play?
I guess there's a fair amount of, there's a lot. There's a lot of stuff that I don't use, or that I'll use 5 years later.
The table.
Yeah.
And waiting for.
Yeah, but maybe not finished. You know, maybe I don't quite hear what to do with it, and then I come back to it, and then I can find it. You know, so. But there's a lot of editing. It's, you know, it's just a lot of work. I mean, it's like if you really want it to be at a high level, sometimes the first draft is, you know, really stupid, and you have to work on it. You know.